Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Ask Digit Show. Today we've got a couple of questions about cell phones and laptops, and which ones are the best to buy, and also a couple of questions about Windows Phone apps and the best cameras to buy. I'm Nikhil, and this
I'm
is
Swapnil.
yes.
Yeah, that's me.
And so let's start, shall we? Swapnil, would you like to begin?
I was just gonna have a sip of coffee. Anyway, so I'll take this forward.
Yeah.
So we have. I'm gonna start with cameras first because it's been a very long time since we had somebody ask a camera-related question on our Facebook page. So Pratibha Singh wanted to know what's the best camera to buy under 25,000 rupees. Well, I totally understand that you want to spend your 25 grand at the best place possible. There are different definitions of best, and for you, best could mean a camera that will take amazing photos of subjects that are very far away. It could also mean a camera that will give you extremely good low light performance. So I'm going to try and see which camera will give you best of all these various features. So my first recommendation would be the Nikon P330, which costs about 17,000 bucks and has a very good starting aperture of f1.8. Decent zoom. It's got a very good BSI sensor as well. The pixel count being I think 16 megapixels or so, more than enough. It's very compact and it comes in white. So there's that. But if you can afford to increase your budget by let's say about 2,000 rupees more, you can get the Nikon Coolpix P7800, which is slightly bulkier but has a bigger sensor, a better lens. It has the same lens design that you find in the DSLRs,
Okay.
which is pretty interesting because this was the first of the point and shoots to do that. That kind of started the trend. Anyway, and it has a very good aperture range of f2 to f4 throughout the zoom range. So even if you're shooting wildlife, if you're shooting low light, wherever you are, you're gonna get good results. And it's funny because my DSLR broke when I was on my trip to Nainital. And I had a P7700 which is older,
Okay.
and my friends and my family couldn't make out that I was using a point and shoot and not a DSLR.
So will this take good photos in, let's say, parties and stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could pop up the flash, right?
Okay.
See, if you're in a party, even a DSLR would need extra light.
Okay.
So if you use the on-camera flash, it's not very harsh. So you're not gonna see like very strong shadows. You're not
Okay.
gonna see people getting completely whited out or blown out, as it's called.
Right.
So there's that.
Okay. So Navpreet Singh has asked us a very interesting question on Facebook. So apparently Navpreet has recently bought an iPad Air, and he was wondering which is the best keyboard app for it, and he'd also like some options when it comes to good physical keyboards. Now, Navpreet, I've been using an iPhone 4S for a while, and I honestly do not find anything particularly wrong with the default keyboard on iPhone. And it's also that you will not be able to use use a third-party keyboard app on an iPhone or an iPad. You can't use it in every other app. You'll be limited to just using the keyboard in the keyboard app itself.
But like on iOS 7, I don't know if you noticed, but the spacebar has been reduced.
Yeah, it has.
And that really annoys me because I'm always hitting the wrong button.
Yeah, that's true.
So
There is an option. There is an app called Fast Keyboard that it's a free app, and it offers you a limited typing experience, but it also gives you a bigger keyboard. It offers you 2 extra rows in which there are numbers and symbols and stuff, and it offers Dropbox sync. So the moment you type something, you can just sync it directly to Dropbox. It offers you word and character count, so you can just it continuously gives you a running count of how many words you've typed out, how many characters, and it gives you very easily accessible cut, copy, paste buttons, so you can just copy and paste it into your SMS or IM. But like I said, I mean, I wouldn't really recommend using a third-party keyboard app on iPhone unless you have a jailbroken device.
wait
yeah.
though. Does this app integrate throughout the entire
No,
iOS?
exactly. So
That- I
no
think that would-
third-party keyboard app
Yeah.
offers that. So that's what I was saying, that any third-party keyboard app will obviously just limit yourself. You will be limiting yourself to typing within that app itself, and then copying the whatever you've typed out and then pasting it into another app that you wanted to actually type in. So now, if you're talking about physical keyboards, the best option would be the Apple Wireless keyboard, the Bluetooth keyboard. It retails for about 4.5 to 5.3K, depending on different retailers. There is also the Logitech ultra thin keyboard folio, which works as almost like a file folder, but it also has a keyboard in it. This is slightly more expensive at 6.5K, since it offers a keyboard along with a thin case. If you want a less expensive variant, now I have not personally used this product and cannot really say how good it is, but it seems to have its share of users. This is the Colmate aluminium alloy Bluetooth keyboard. This retails for about 1,500 bucks, so you could give that a try.
So Nikhil's covered the budget options, and I've personally used one from Logitech, the K810. It's a standalone keyboard, just like the Apple keyboard, and it costs about 8,000 bucks. And trust me, it's one of the best keyboards I've used. So if you have the money, and you really do want the best typing experience, you should also consider the K810.
So this is a wireless keyboard.
It's a wireless keyboard. Okay. It works over Bluetooth, and the battery life is just insane.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it's a built-in battery, so you don't have to keep swapping out batteries like on the Apple keyboard. Okay. And it charges via micro USB, so that works.
So I'll move on to a second question.
Before you do, so since I've got one related to Windows Phone that I'd just like to cover. So Hisham Salim asked us, what are the top apps for Windows Phone? And again, top apps, we're going to cover, it's like amazingly large category. So just going to give you a few brief good ones. In terms of games, you have all the popular ones now. You've got Angry Birds, you've got Temple Run, Subway Surf. My personal favorite is Halo Spartan Ops. I'm a huge Halo fan, so for me that's a plus. It's exclusive to Windows Phone. Then if you're looking at productivity apps, you have Microsoft Office that's built in. That's kind of the beauty of Windows Phone. A lot of this stuff is built in. You don't need Facebook, you don't need Twitter, it's all there. SkyDrive is something that I use extremely regularly. So and that's kind of weird because SkyDrive is not integrated into Windows Phone.
Right. Yeah.
You have to download an app separately. So you should definitely get that. I also use the Fitbit tracker on my phone. So if you're into the fitness stuff, you've got Runkeeper as well.
Yeah.
So that's a more Runkeeper does not require special hardware, while Fitbit does. So yeah, those are a few apps that you should definitely get on your phone. Unless if you're looking for something specific, do write it to us.
And the great thing about Windows Phone is that, especially when it comes to games, you can just download a trial version of the game, play it, and you can just check out which games you actually like. One app that I'd like to recommend is WP7 App List, which is, although the name says WP7, it manages to track every app that's out on Windows Phone right now. Yeah. It gives you a list of all the deals and apps that may have gone free or are running on, or are running on a discount. So that's a very good app to just download and check out if you've got some particular app in mind and you want it for free or at a lesser price.
Yeah. Also, we have Instagram now. I use Louis 1020 at times. We have Instagram, which is pretty awesome. However, there's an app that's actually better than Instagram. It's called SixTag. It natively shoots a 4 times higher resolution image than the default Instagram app. Gives you far more filters, including all the official stuff. You get so much more. You can save images, you can share them to your various social networks, you can email them. It's crazy. I use SixTag, I don't use Instagram, and trust me, once you use SixTag, you will not want to use Instagram. The best part is it's an officially recognized app. They adhere to all Instagram rules and regulations, so you're part of the Instagram network when you post. It's not something outside, so there's that.
Okay. Yeah. So Rahul Kumar from again on Facebook, he says that he's a student and he does a lot of coding, but he also likes to play some hardcore game titles like Call of Duty. So he'd like a laptop. Now again, that's a very general question, but considering that Rahul is a student, I would say that your budget would be about 35-40K. So I'd like to give you a couple of options in that price range. So first up is the Lenovo Essential G505S, which retails for about 35 to 36.5K. It has an AMD quad-core 2.1 gig PROC processor, along with
A8, right?
Yeah, exactly. It has 4 GB of RAM and a 1 TB hard drive, which is quite excellent specs for something that just costs about 35K. For gaming, for graphics, it has an AMD Radeon HD 8570. And it has a 15.6 inch display with 1366 into 768 pixel resolution. So this is a pretty good, these are pretty good specs for a laptop that just costs 35K. Now this should be a standard note for every time we are recommending budget gaming stuff. You will not get the best performance. You cannot expect to put all settings at max and run something like a Black Flag or Crysis 3, you know, at like exactly at 60 FPS or something. But you can definitely pare down on the settings and kind of play around with whether you want to switch on anti-aliasing or not, things like that, and you'll get decent performance. Now,
Nikhil, one sec. What if, you know, Rahul is not a poor college student like you and I have been, and actually does have the money to shell out?
Right.
You know, and in fact, that's kind of what I did all Sunday. I was out with a friend to buy him a laptop, and two options stood out. One was the Dell Inspiron 15700, which has the 4th Gen i7. It comes with about 8 gigs of RAM, full HD display, which I really liked, and 2 gigs of NVIDIA GT 750. So there's that, and that retails for about 80 grand. If you're looking for something cheaper, you get the exact same specification set in the Lenovo Y510P.
Okay.
Exact same specs. It costs 74,000 bucks. But the good thing is it comes with a DVD drive built in, and it uses the Ultra Bay format, which means you can just take that out and put in another drive. You can even put in another NVIDIA GT 750 if you want for 4 gigs of gaming. That's pretty insane. But what I like the most was it comes with a 6-cell battery instead of the 4-cell battery on the Dell. And this is about 74 grand. So, you know, you have two options. One's the budget and one's the high.
Well, another option if you are actually a poor student like I was, is the Asus Elite S56CM, which costs about 36K. It has an i3 3217 ultra low voltage processor. It has 4 gigs of RAM, a 500 GB hard drive, and an NVIDIA GT635M GPU. So again, this is not as good a deal as the Lenovo, because the 8570, the Radeon 8570 is a better graphics card than the 635M. But the Asus is built better. It's slightly slimmer than the Lenovo, and it just costs about maybe 2,000 or 3,000 more. So this is another very good option to consider. Moving on, we now move on to Kiran, who again has a very general question: which tablet should I purchase for 15,000?
Oh wow!
So
definitely not the iPad.
Yeah, the cheapest iPad would be the 21,000, I think, iPad Mini.
iPad Mini, first gen.
So. So for 15,000, I mean, you've pretty much limited your, you're looking for an Android tablet. The best in terms of specs and performance would, specs at least, would be the Eyeball Slide Q9703. It retails for about 16K. It has a 1.2 gig quad-core processor with 2 GB of RAM. And probably the standout spec in this is it has a 9.7 inch IPS display with a resolution of 2048 into 1536 pixels. So which is quite excellent for a tablet that just costs about 16K. So it has a beautiful screen. It has a pretty good 1.2 gig quad core processor. So this is a damn good option. But we haven't yet reviewed the Eyeball Slide. So what we have reviewed is the ZoloPlay Tegra Note, which is quite. I can quite confidently say that it delivers kick-ass performance. Now, this tablet costs about 18,000 rupees. It doesn't have the best of screens. It has a 7-inch display with about 720p resolution, but it does have the Tegra 4 the chipset in it, and it has delivered the best results from a tablet that we have ever seen. In fact, I had to actually benchmark it and compare it against the 50,000, 60,000 rupees Android smartphones, and I believe only the Xperia Z Ultra was able to beat it. So this is definitely the most powerful tablet that you can buy for about 18K, but then if your budget is strictly 15K, then you could go for the Eyeball Q Slide, which retails for about 16K.
Wouldn't it have been amazing if Zolo had put in a high definition screen? IPS.
Exactly, it would have.
That would have been a killer deal.
But I'm guessing the price would have jumped up to about 20 to 23K, because I remember the people at the Zolo, the tablet launch were telling me that it was basically NVIDIA who did everything for the tablet. So yeah, so this is basically the same tablet as the EVGA Tegra, which was launched I think about 6 months ago. and this is basically a rebranded
So it's
EVGA
essentially
tablet.
an NVIDIA-made tablet.
Exactly.
It's branded by Zolo.
Yeah. So if you look
So
at
for-
the tablet, it has a heavy NVIDIA, it has a green branding and the Tegra thing.
Interesting.
So now we come over to Mohandas Pai, who asks us that he wants a huge phone, okay, preferably more than about 5 inches, and for about 20 to 25,000 rupees, and which one would we suggest? Now, I've never personally been a fan of huge phones. I mean, I'm using an iPhone 4S with a 3.5 inch screen, and the most I can probably look at going towards is a 4.3 inch screen. But I mean, if you're into plastering that big slab of plastic on the side of your face, yeah,
This is not
be my
natural.
guest.
This is not natural, guys.
Yeah. So for 20 to 25k, if Android is you do not want to go for Android, or you do not have any particular preference for Android, the Lumia 1320 is actually a great deal. I think Swapnil would like to tell you more about this phone.
I used the 1320 and I was quite surprised. I went into the launch event thinking that since it's a cheaper version of the 1520, it'll be all plastic and not very well built and it'll be flimsy. But it wasn't the case. Nokia actually takes good care of the products they're making. And it's got replaceable backs, which means if you don't like the red color, you can swap it out for white or orange or yellow or even black. It's got a matte finish. It comes with 1 gig of RAM. It has a 720p 6-inch display. And the best thing was that even while playing Modern Combat 4, since it's a 6-inch screen, it has enough space and it was fast. There was no lag. There was no tearing. So I think if it can handle Modern Combat 4, there is nothing else that you should have a problem with. And it only cost 23,499. Right. So there's that, and that's the box price. So I'm assuming if you go to a dealer and you have people skills, you could get it for a little lesser.
Exactly.
So that's my
probably the only slight downside to this phone is that it has a 720p display. Yeah. Okay, for a 6-inch display, just having 720p resolution is slightly low. That's why the other alternative that you could consider is the Zolo Q3000, which costs about 21k. Now that has a 5.7-inch full HD IPS display, so that's like 1920 into 1080 pixels resolution and 5.7 inches. It has a 1.5 gig quad-core MediaTek processor, whereas the 1320 had a dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor, and it has 2 GB of RAM and it comes with Android 4.2. Okay, so the Zolo Q3000 is again a good alternative. However, the Nokia 1320, if you are not particularly interested in Android or do not necessarily want to go for Android, then the 1320 will also make a very good buy.
It's interesting how Zolo started making such amazing products.
Exactly.
Like a year ago, I don't think Zolo was on top of our list in terms of recommendations.
Exactly.
But yeah.
I think Zolo kind of started becoming a very interesting company from their very first product, which was the first ever mobile with an Intel processor.
Yeah,
so that's what got us all interested in Zolo. So now the final question for this episode comes from Aryan over Twitter. Now he asks us that which is the best Android gaming phone under rupees 15,000. Now again, sorry to sound like it might sound like that we're getting paid for this, but again I'd like to recommend a Zolo product here. This is the Zolo Play T1000, which costs about 13.5 to 14k. Again, it's a Tegra phone. That's why it delivers pretty good gaming performance.
It's a Tegra 3, not a 4.
Yeah, it's a Tegra 3 phone.
Yeah.
It has a 4.7-inch IPS 720p display. It has a 1.5 gig Tegra 3 processor, and it comes with 1 GB of RAM. Now, however, let me quickly move over to an alternative. Yeah. So you could definitely consider the Titanium S7. That's from Carbon. That has a 1080p display, an IPS 1080p display. However, it does have a MediaTek chipset, so the performance may be slightly inconsistent. We are pretty sure that the Tegra 3 delivers quite well, except for battery life. Tegra 3 is known to have poor battery life, whereas the MediaTek processor is slightly better in terms of battery life. So the Zolo Play will cost you about 13 to 14k, whereas the Carbon should cost you closer to about 15k. So those are the two best alternatives.
You heard us say the word IPS display a lot, and I just like to take a minute out to explain why it is such an important feature that we emphasize on. Screens have various technologies, and IPS is a kind of panel. It's in plane switching. So while it's not very battery friendly, what it does give you is consistent colors throughout the screen. So a red on the top left corner will be the same red on the bottom right corner. That's one. And the second thing you get is incredible viewing angles.
Yes.
You don't see a color shift. Your colors remain consistent. You can still see. And on computer monitors, a standard viewing angle is about 178 degrees. Not sure what it is on the phones. But yeah, so IPS panels are generally for gaming, for photo editing. If you're into a lot of multimedia related stuff, you want an IPS panel on your device.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So that's it for this episode of Ask Digit. We hope you enjoyed watching us. We definitely enjoy bringing this show to you, and we love feedback from you guys.
So yeah, just find us on any of your preferred social networking places.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/ThinkDigit. We're on Twitter. We've got email as well, believe it or not. And we love comments. We love feedbacks, positive, negative, whatever. We love coffee, so feel free to
we aren't on Orkut or High Five, so
no,
sorry.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And definitely our video editor will be putting up all the links to all our social media.
All the links, all the emails,
yeah.
none of our phone numbers.
Yeah.
So, do watch out for all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye.